Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined by Jack Weinberger and Robert Ziggy Ziegler out in California. AFC East Day, guys. AFC East Division preview show. It's a shame that producer Zach isn't here today to defend his Miami Dolphins from whatever slanders headed their way. Now, I'm not sure.
They're my champs.
I mean, yeah, maybe some praise. Maybe it's a shame that Zach can't hear all the praise you're going to heap on Tua and Tyreek Hill and the Dolphins for 2024. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to this video. You can always become, or to this channel. You can always become a member by going to our channel homepage, clicking on the join button for various perks such as giveaways, competition this year. We'll have challenges like pick'em pools. Still debating what else we're going to do over the course of the 2024 season. But again, when you don't have too many members at the start here, great chance to win some merch. And we're going to be giving it away. We'll have new merch coming out that you could check out on the Paul Farrington Show website, paulfarringtonshow.com. And of course, we appreciate everyone who watches on YouTube, but you can always catch us on audio, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You're a Spotify guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Ziggy, are you an Apple Music guy?
I don't do podcasts, but when I do listen to podcasts, I do a feed.
A podcaster who doesn't listen to podcasts. I mean, it checks out. I don't listen to too many podcasts other than
I really don't either.
My work.
But
you can.
If you just have an RSS feed, tune into that. It's easy.
So you could catch us on audio anywhere you listen to your podcast. Just have an RSS feed. It doesn't matter where it's.
I listen to our podcast.
Yeah, you go back and listen.
Yeah, I go back.
Jack is consistently, and there goes Ziggy's. Oh, he's back.
Yeah. See, when we're talking about listening to podcasts, nah.
You gotta remember Jack too. Like, I mean, Jack is constantly re-listening to shows, putting like the notes are here in front of him. Like this guy, you can't take him away from work. This guy loves to work.
Oh, look, I was at work today and I was working on my research for the podcast.
These shows,
post-work show.
Yeah, we were just saying the division shows are one, super fun to do because it's fun to touch on teams that we don't always talk about. We're fairly NFC North and Steeler oriented, but when we get into these division shows, it's a lot of fun for us to kind of relearn everything and organize everything from the off season. And the AFC East is a division with just a lot of teams that are fun to talk about. A lot of huge stars.
AFC East
in this division. Oh yeah, you're not a Steeler fan. You must hate most of these teams, right?
I don't like them all.
Like Patriots hate, right?
Pats is probably my second most hated team ever.
And you hate the Jets as well.
Oh yeah, with a passion.
I think we all kind of like the Dolphins.
I don't mind the Bills or the Dolphins. Yeah, I think they're fine.
The Bills aren't. I mean, the Bills do not.
Bills don't bother me.
Yeah. Well, how could they?
They just murked us last year in the playoffs. But
yeah, but you weren't winning anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So the AFC East, the way we do these shows, again, we have the top contender, like who we think is going to win, the top challenger. It's kind of weird. I said top contender. We have the king of the division, the top challenger, the sleeper team, and then the bottom feeder. The AFC East. Ooh, towards the top, it could get interesting. So the way we're going to do it to start here. And I just picked this team, so people might disagree. But I have as the king of the AFC East right now, has to still be the Buffalo Bills. Quick overview. Remember last season, they started 3-1, looked unbeatable, just dominating the Raiders, the Commanders. I remember Zach standing right here in front of this bar, watching on the TV behind us, nearly crying, watching the Bills-Dolphins game. I think it was week 4. That was brutal to watch. But then, they slip up to a 5-5 start. They fire Ken Dorsey, and Joe Brady takes over as offensive coordinator. They're 6-6, big loss to Philly in overtime. Everyone's saying that the Bills are done. We put out a video, I think, saying the Bills are doomed. Actually, we might have just said the Bills are fucked. I think that was the title of our video. Because I remember.
I hope not.
I think that was the title of one of our videos. It's the only time we've really had it. We had it start out, but we had that. Like people were super down on Buffalo. Except for Ziggy, who put a futures on them to win the division and go to the playoffs. Was that the bet?
You should have listened.
I had him as division winners, and what do you know?
At 6-6,
Ziggy
like put his money
back.
Yeah, Ziggy put his money where his mouth was, and the Bills won 5 games in a row, including at Kansas City, including against the Cowboys, including a Week 18 Sunday Night Football win in Miami against the Dolphins team that had controlled the division the entire year. And then somehow, some way, once again floundered, and Josh Allen led his team to a big win over the Steelers in the divisional round, and then, or in the wild card round, then a loss to the Chiefs in the divisional. Again, this is a team now heading into the offseason. They're up against it with the salary cap, some big losses like Stefon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Mitch Morse, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White, big names, guys that Bills fans have become very well acquainted with and love to cheer on, are gone. And they bring in Keon Coleman. Receiver's a big question. Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel, Matt Collins, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Those are guys brought in to try to revitalize that group. And then like Mike Edwards, a safety, and a second-round safety, Cole Bishop out of Utah, some of the big additions. Key question here for Buffalo guys. And then I'll finally shut up here. How much can we really put on Josh Allen now that Stefon Diggs, Gabe Davis are both gone? And do you think there's enough at the receiver position for them to continue the offensive success they've had?
First off, don't ever feel compelled to have to shut up.
Oh, thank you.
Your voice puts me to sleep at night.
That's not what I want for a podcast.
Well, no, I mean, like
your voice is so boring.
No, not boring, but your voice is just nice to listen to. It's pleasant.
Oh, thank you.
I enjoy it. It gets me a certain mood. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, jeez.
So here's the thing. Josh Allen, throughout his whole career, Ziggy's face, he tries to do way too much. That's how he plays. That's who he is. And he's very, very, very good. Don't get me wrong. But now no Stefon Diggs, no Gabe Davis. There's no clear-cut number one. You have Valdez-Scantling, you have Chase Claypool.
You're hoping it's Keon Coleman.
Keon Coleman, who I think is going to be very good. Like I'm a big fan of his. But it's a bunch of decent receivers, but obviously no one like a Stefon Diggs, which concerns me a bit. I fear that Josh Allen might be trying to do a whole lot. I mean, last year he had 18 picks. And a key for me with them is those numbers declined big time down the stretch when they got James Cook and the run game involved. But
that's when they started winning too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When Buffalo was winning games, Josh Allen the turnovers were limited. He wasn't trying to do too much. It was when they got the run game involved. So I think while there's an astronomical amount of pressure on Josh Allen, I do not think that Josh Allen by himself can take this team to where they want to be. Patrick Mahomes is the only quarterback that could. To me, it's got to be balanced. It's got to be Josh Allen, and it's got to be the run game.
Okay.
The thing to worry about with the Bills is that the offense got worse in the second half of the season. No matter what you have heard, you've heard that the offense got way better when they asked Josh Allen to do less, brought in a new coordinator. The offense got worse ever since Dorsey left, but you can set that aside. It is always going to be tough to lose.
Wait. I'm sorry. Can you just walk through that for like a minute?
I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought they were a lot
because a lot of people who listen, that's like a big enough statement where so many people are going to want to hear why.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, their success rate went down. Their EPA per play went down. Their every efficiency stat for this team went down. What changed was they stopped having the horrific luck they'd had in the first half of the season. And indeed, I mean, you can correlate the offense getting worse with Stefon Diggs having an absolute collapse after week 6 or week 7 and being functionally useless for the rest of the year. So you've already gotten a little bit of a preview for what the Bills might look like without Stefon Diggs. But while that's a little bit worrying if your goal is Super Bowl, that's less worrying because even when Stefon Diggs was terrible, even when Gabriel Davis wasn't producing a lot, this offense was fine because Josh Allen is the NFL Superman. That's just who he is. So I think that this team will be okay despite losing their top 2 receivers, despite losing their best pass rusher, despite losing their starting center, despite losing some other players. The fact is, as long as you have the best quarterback in a division, you will always be competitive. And the Bills have far and away the best quarterback in the division. Even if Aaron Rodgers is very good this year, which is not a guarantee, Josh Allen is one of the 2 or 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL. And so long as you have that advantage, I'm putting you number 1.
Yeah, I can get behind that too, because I do think Josh Allen is Superman as well. I think James Cook is really good, and we kind of saw what he could become in the second half of last season. I expect him to have another good season. And then Dalton Kincaid is probably the guy that's going to step in to that wide receiver 1 role, even though he's a tight end. Like, he's the guy that they're hoping takes that jump. So I trust all 3 of those guys. And between the other receivers here, I mean, sheesh, it's Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, I believe Ziggy is really high on Shakir.
I'm actually kind of high.
Yeah, he's going to be good.
Like Curtis Samuel, I've always liked Curtis Samuel. He's an underrated weapon in the league. Valdez Scantling, Chase Claypool, Mac Hollins, KJ Hamler. There's a lot of guys there who, if one or two of them, really just one, honestly, if one of them could step up and just be a decent receiving room, there are actually enough weapons that I think this offense can still be very good because Josh Allen's that good and because I trust the other two in Kincaid and James Cook. But from the receiver standpoint alone, Diggs and Davis combined for 152 receptions, nearly 2,000 yards and 15 touchdowns last season. Like there's a lot of output that you're going to be able to you need to try to replicate in some ways. And people forget like the jump Josh Allen took. I know that a lot of it was the mechanics and he's talked about that before. But when Stefon Diggs joined the team, that was the first year you saw Josh Allen go from 3,000 to 4,500 passing yards, 10 or 20 to 37 touchdowns. Like that, you can't ignore the impact that a star receiver has had for Josh Allen. So now, yeah, there is more pressure on him. I also agree, though. I think he's good enough where I think the Bills are almost underrated heading into this season because so many big names have left. People are forgetting that a lot of them, yeah, like you guys said, didn't really play that well last year. And it was just the Josh Allen Herculean performance and James Cook Herculean performances that got them in. So I'm still pretty high on Buffalo personally. And sounds like you guys are, yeah, for the most part as well. The top challenger. And this is where it could kind of get all over the place. I'm not even sure.
Better be the Dolphins.
Yeah, personally speaking, I'm not sure where I come down on it yet. But for now, we have the Dolphins as the top challenger heading into next season. Again, 2023 was, in many ways, a dream year for producer Zach's Dolphins. 10-5 going into the final 2 weeks. I mean, just absolutely crushing teams under 500. Put up 70 against the Broncos. And then in the final 2 weeks, all they had to do, they had to beat either the Ravens in Baltimore or the Bills at home to win the division. It's a lot easier said than done. Those are two very good teams. 56-19 blowout loss to Baltimore. 21-14 Sunday Night Football loss to the Bills. In that little stretch of big games towards the end of the season. Do you remember Ziggy doing the Monday Night Football reaction to Giants Packers? And the Dolphins blew the Titans game? That crazy, what was it? Oh, bless you.
Bless you.
That crazy like 27-14 lead or whatever that they had.
Yeah, and then they lose 27-28.
Yep, if they had won that game, they would have won the division, lost it, then 26-7. Really not even a fun game to watch in the wild card round against the Chiefs. Coldest game in franchise history for the Dolphins, outgained 409 to 264. So this offseason, what'd they do? Some key additions. They brought in Kendall Fuller. A lot of people were happy about that. Linebacker Jordan Brooks, center Aaron Brewer. They bring in Shaquille Barrett at edge rusher, Jonnu Smith at tight end, try and get some more production there. OBJ, Jordan Poyer. I mean, a couple of really big names. Calais Campbell, even though he's 37 to 38 years old. Neville Gallimore from the Cowboys. Big names all over the place. But some big names left. Christian Wilkins to the Raiders. That's one of the biggest ones. Safety Brandon Jones is gone. They lost Andrew Van Ginkel. Jerome Baker to our Vikings, by the way. Andrew Van Ginkel. Xavier Howard, guard Robert Hunt also leaves, a big loss for them. And then in terms of re-signing guys, Jalen Waddle finally got his big deal, but Tua, still nothing yet. That's the big question. How much are they going to give Tua? Is that going to happen? Producer Zach is very much against it right now. But the big question that we're going to ask, the topic for the Dolphins here, is can we blame the late season collapse, those losses to Baltimore, those that fall apart to the Titans, the Bills loss? Can we blame that on all the injuries that they sustained over the final couple weeks of the season? Or can they just not beat good teams? Can this Dolphins team just crush people who they're better than, but they just can't get over the hump and they're not going to?
I think when
you don't lose 56-19 because of injuries. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I mean, you can't.
Ziggy spoiling was maybe what his take. A little sneak preview.
I know producer Zach's not a fan. And I guess some people aren't, but it's tough to shoulder this blame on Tua. And it's easy to go. It's easy to do that when your offense on the stretch has 27 possessions, you score 5 touchdowns, you average 13 points a game. It's easy to say, oh, this is on the quarterback, this is on Tua. That's on the playmakers. It's on the line. It's on coaching. I mean, it's on the defense. It's not Tua's fault that you blew a 14-point lead in the final 3 minutes against the Titans. They went down and scored, got the ball back, scored again. You allowed almost 60 points against the Ravens. That's not Tua. And people will be hard on him. I think that this team, as unfortunate as it is to say, because I've been pretty high on them,
they're fun to root for.
They might just be one of the better teams in that second tier. And it's tough to shoulder blame on Tua for that collapse. It was pretty much everything. Things just fell apart. It was a perfect storm. But then, like, if you don't blow a lead against Tennessee, which is probably a 99% chance to win that game, you have a home playoff game. And it could be totally different. So,
but do you think, before we throw it over to Ziggy, do you think, let's say they do host a playoff game. Okay, they're the 2 seed. Who would they have hosted? Do you guys remember? Was it you guys?
It was us. They would have smacked us.
So, like, let's say they beat you guys. They're the 2 seed. Now they're hosting Kansas City. They probably lose that game. But there's a world where the Dolphins could get to the championship game now.
Yeah.
And now the conversation's way different this offseason. Now we're talking about, is this the year where they knock down the door? Tua probably has his deal already. Like, just a couple things changing, and this Dolphins team is in a much different position.
Also, look, I mean, I shouldn't say top team in the second tier. Like, this team.
No, I think you're right.
But
I think you're right.
Maybe, but like, this team, they beat the Cowboys.
But they lost to everyone else.
But then they lost a road game to Baltimore. It's tough to win there. The loss at home to Buffalo is tough, but I do believe this team is able to beat good teams. I just don't think that they did. And that was unfortunate.
Okay. Well, how about you, Ziggy? It sounds like you're not buying excuses.
This is a tricky team for me to get a hold on because while there's a lot of excuses for them, and some of them are actually fair, I look back on the season, I think, what were the impressive wins for this Dolphins team? You know, typically in an NFL season, you have some tough losses, and the Dolphins had that, no doubt about it, right? There was the Buffalo meltdown, the Titans meltdown, the Baltimore meltdown. But you look back and say, okay, what were the impressive
So many
wins?
meltdowns.
Titans are bad.
Yeah, no, the Broncos win was impressive. I don't care how bad the Broncos team is. That's an impressive win.
That's amazing.
Beating the Cowboys was a solid win. Right, they're at home, I know all of that, but they beat a pretty good Cowboys team. But that's it. Other than that, they have no wins that really stand out as impressive, and they have a lot of losses that raise red flags. So that makes me hesitant. You know, maybe things could have gone different, right? And we can imagine, what if they hadn't collapsed? What if they'd hosted a playoff game? Things could have gone very different, but we don't know how they would match up against those teams at full health. Meanwhile, you know, the defense was a problem for them last year. They needed good defensive performances. You lose your interior defensive lineman. You replace Andrew Van Ginkel, a really underrated player, with
awesome
developmental rookie. You lose Robert Hunt for Robert Jones, which is a huge loss. And I'm not convinced any of the other upgrades they've done have really... I think they are upgrades, but they're not as big as those 3 losses. It's hard for me to get excited about this team as a contender, even if I expect, like last year, they will perform very well in the regular season.
Yeah, I do think that the injuries played a huge part in the collapse at the end of the season. I look, they couldn't beat good teams. It just kept happening. But Bradley Chubb was out, Jalen Phillips, Van Ginkel, Javon Holland. They're missing their center, Connor Williams, Isaiah Wynn, their left guard, Jerome Baker, their linebacker. They were all out for the Chiefs game. You know, Waddle was banged up. Tyreek, and it's just part of football. Like, Tyreek's banged up, Xavier Howard. People get hurt, but that felt particularly astonishing watching how many. I mean, all their edge rushers, they could get no pressure. They're playing with 3rd and 4th string guys. So I'm going to give them a pass for just how bad it got at the end of the year, because I do think that Miami team was at the very top of the second tier. And yeah, they're probably not winning the Super Bowl, but I just thought it was tough. The big question, though, is like, yeah, can they actually beat good teams? And right now, I'm going to still say no until I see it, because they fall apart on every level. Tons of penalties. Tua, in the 7 games against teams over 500, the Bills twice, Chiefs twice, Eagles, Cowboys, Ravens, 8 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, sacked 13 times. Tyreek Hill, here's his yardage, guys. He went for over 100 yards in 8 of the 10 games against the non-over 500 teams, but the below 500 teams. 58 against the Bills, 88 Chiefs, 62 Chiefs, 99 Cowboys, 76 Ravens, 82 Bills, 62 Chiefs. Like, even he got locked down in those games as well. And part of that's because Tua's getting sacked like crazy and throwing interceptions. But, you know, their offense was lethal and didn't show up. Then in big situations, like Tua's throwing picks against the Eagles, he's underthrowing against the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill's lateraling balls that are getting taken away by Kansas City for touchdowns at the end of the half. Like, they just delaminated in so many ways in these big moments. And until I see them, it's kind of like the Cowboys. Until I see them overcome that mental hurdle, I don't think it's going to happen, even though I think the team itself is capable of playing in those games, just not winning them yet.
But without sounding too critical, right? Because I know it sounds like we're dunking on them, and
I think they're awesome. I think they're a great team.
This is a team that they'll be a good team. They should win a lot of games. They have a real chance to win the division. The question is just, can they do more than that?
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, don't you think, though, losing a 7-point game to the Chiefs neutral field, losing in Philly by 7, like beating Dallas, that doesn't show you they can beat good teams?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying. I think they 100% can win those games. But until I see it, like, I'm not going to pick them in those situations. Like, they're good enough to contend. You know, Tyreek Hill said after the Chiefs game, we can play with good teams. I think that's true. But can you beat them? And that's what I want to see from Miami next year. Is they have some opportunity. Don't they play Buffalo very early in the season? I think they do.
Exactly.
Like,
I would probably.
Like, I want to see them win that game at week 18. They have all the injuries, but I want to see you win that game. And last year it was tough. Again, yeah, I think they're really good and could win the Super Bowl if it clicks. But
yeah, when you open by hosting the Jaguars, then hosting the Bills, you got to be able to win those games.
That's a chance right there to prove it. Yeah. So you will know early, kind of. If the Dolphins go 0-2, their end of the schedule is really tough. Like, they got to show up out the gates, and I mean, they did it last year. The next team, I guess sleeper team kind of fits the bill here to some degree for some people. But the Jets. So obviously, we all know their season was 4 plays last year. I remember we were recording a show when Aaron Rodgers got hurt. None of us could believe what was going on. The offense after that injury, 31st in yards per game, 29th in points per game, kind of unwatchable.
Oh,
I mean, the Jets, for all the hype to then just be a repeat of the 2022 disaster, you couldn't really watch them. On the other hand, though, the defense was so good that despite Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, and Trevor Siemian playing 16 games, they still won 7 games last year. Behind an electric defense, 3rd in yards per game, 2nd passing yards per game, and 12th in points per game. This offseason, they add Hassan Reddick, kind of a swap. They add Hassan Reddick from the Eagles, and they lose Bryce Huff to Philadelphia. They add Tyron Smith at left tackle, right tackle Morgan Moses. Mike Williams comes in from the Chargers. John Simpson at left guard, and they drafted Olu Fashanu in the draft. Your guy, right? You liked him, right? A lot.
I did. I was a fan.
Out of Ole Miss, I believe.
Yes.
And was it Ole Miss? I believe it was Ole Miss. So a lot of additions, and I gotta give the Jets credit. The key question that we're going to discuss here is, one, is Aaron Rodgers still Aaron Rodgers? / have the Jets done enough around him? And that second question, like, I give them a lot of credit because they knew there were some big holes they had to fill, especially along the offensive line, because Rodgers was from the get-go running for his life. And I thought they did a really nice job of going after, Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses are older guys, but you're hoping for a Super Bowl. And you only got this Aaron Rodgers window for 1, maybe 2 years. Like, take a swing on some guys that, if they stay healthy, if it pans out, will be really good. And of course, I mean, there's always the chance that this blows up in their faces. They're the Jets. But I liked what they did. I thought they approached the offseason really well, and that they're actually being underrated.
I mean, I hope that it does blow up in their face, because I really don't like the Jets. And I'll be the first to come right out and say that. I really do not like the Jets. But this team they could be the best in the AFC East when all is said and done. They can. The best. We're calling them the sleeper, which I guess, given the way we're... Yeah, given our circumstances, they are. But this team has probably the best defense in football, which is why I said I would take Sauce Gardner out of anybody in a draft. I would take him first over a quarterback. The defense is fantastic. They've done more than enough to provide Aaron Rodgers with what he needs. Tyron Smith, a good tackle, with a sumo upgrade needed there at the offensive line. We know that. Morgan Moses. Mike Williams, please stay healthy. He's a solid number 2.
It's all about health.
Garrett Wilson, one of the better receivers in football. If Aaron Rodgers has the table set, it's if he can stay healthy The guys around him can stay healthy. The Jets have done more than enough for him to be a team where if they're healthy, can go as far as they want to go. And I hate to say it, because I don't like the Jets.
I can't wait to hear this from Ziggy here.
You know what I would like to see? Here's my question for the Jets offseason. Will their offensive line get one practice together? Just one. That's all I'm asking. But let's see what we've seen so far. Because remember those Aaron Rodgers games, right? What stood out to me was, I know we only got to see 6 snaps and like 4 throws from him, but every single one he had to leave the pocket and almost get hit or actually get hit. So what have we got? We've got Tyron Smith, who's missed, I think, more than half the practices due to rest days, has missed 37 games over the last 4 years. How much has Morgan Moses practiced? Well, 0 games. He has pectoral surgery. How many practices has Elijah Vera Tucker done? Well, 0. He's coming back from the Achilles injury. Okay, what about John Simpson? Well, he keeps getting hurt in practice. Joe Tippmann showing up. That's great. You've got a center. But what about Aaron Rodgers elsewhere? Like
Joe Tippmann.
You need a
Tippmann?
Yeah, like
Tip.
Like you need these guys to practice, right? And an offensive line, anybody who's played the position will tell you, it's not just about having talent. You have to be able to work well together. And while they've had terrible luck, don't get me wrong, that's absolutely true. If you don't have an offensive line that plays well together and you have guys keep getting hurt, Aaron Rodgers will not make it through the season. Or if he does, it will be by grounding the ball every other play. So I'm just not convinced. Aaron Rodgers just has to be medium in order for this Jets team to be good. The defense, even if it regresses, will be all right. The offense outside of the line isn't as bad, I think, as some people think, or even people like me are inclined to think. But if the offensive line is as bad as last year, which is a very live possibility, good luck.
Yeah, the offensive line has a lot of big names on it and guys that, if they are healthy, I think should, like Tyron Smith. Vera Tucker is basically out. Like, people don't realize that there's 4 new guys essentially, because I'm not counting Vera Tucker, who didn't play last year, coming into the offensive line, and they're all high ups. I mean, Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses, and Vera Tucker are all very high upside if you get healthy versions of them. But it is super concerning if you're a Jets fan. You know, Andrew used to be on the show, one of our friends, huge Jets fan. He's looking at this team going, how can they not go to the Super Bowl? Like, it is so talented.
No, he's not.
But then I look up and down the roster. I'm like, Rodgers, Hall, Mike Williams, Smith, Vera Tucker, Morgan Moses. 6 of your starters are all very injury prone. So it's going to take luck going from about as bad as it could be last year to as good as it could possibly be for them to sustain their offense over the course of the season. If they do, though, the team's awesome. And then I think they actually might win the division. Like, probably would win the division if you told me they all stay healthy. But that's a huge ask.
I was the other day I was talking to Andrew. He was over and he said
he's not buying it.
So what he said is that the Jets will be up at half on San Francisco, and then Rodgers will get hurt in the third quarter. and then that'll be it. They'll be like,
he's predicting a week 1 injury this year. Yes. Last year he said week 4.
He said week 1. He said week 1, third quarter. We'll have a great first half. He'll be like, all right, these Jets are looking real good. He'll get hurt in the third quarter. That's Andrew's prediction.
It's hard to be too bought in on the Jets, but again, like Mike Williams too. He's amazing.
He's very good. Yeah.
No one's talking about Mike. When Mike Williams is healthy, he is phenomenal. Like, him and Garrett Wilson are going to be a great 1-2 at receiver. I am a little worried about like Xavier Gibson, Alan Lazard. I don't think there's a great third option for Rodgers to go to. It was probably going to be Breece Hall, honestly. But that's the whole question with this Jets offense. The defense will be fine. The defense is awesome. They had some losses, but like I expect them to be very, very good again. Just a matter of staying healthy. And I do believe, to answer the very first of our key questions, I do think Aaron Rodgers has at least 1 more year in him. I'd be very surprised if he just sucked. Like, the past 2 years, he's been hurt. So if he's able to stay healthy, I'm all in on the Jets. I think they're going to have a great season, but it's hard to really go all in on a team that injury prone. Okay, and the bottom feeder of the AFC East, the team that you said, what, Jack, your second least favorite team ever?
Probably the third. It's probably, no, NFL, not ever, just NFL team.
Oh, okay.
Probably Ravens, Bengals, Patriots.
The New England Patriots. So
I hate Syracuse.
Yeah, it's been tough ever since Tom Brady left. It's been tough. The Patriots are learning what life is like without a Hall of Fame quarterback, kind of as as you've been as a Steeler fan without Ben Roethlisberger. It's been difficult for New England. Of course, one of the biggest stories in all of football is Bill Belichick is no longer the head coach. Now Gerard Mayo takes over in New England. Not too much going on in free agency. They bring in Antonio Gibson, KJ Osborne from the Vikings, Jacoby Brissett as a potential starting quarterback early in the year. Maybe by the end of the season, we see Drake Maye come in. And they re-signed. A bunch of guys re-signed. Really no key departures for the Patriots. But again, that big news this offseason is drafting Drake Maye. Someone we really wanted the Vikings to draft him. When we were getting closer to the draft, there were all those rumors about Minnesota moving up. I'm high on Drake Maye. I think that New England made the right decision in drafting him. You have to have your franchise quarterback. But the big question we're going to say is there enough around Drake Maye for him to succeed in year one with the Patriots, assuming at some point he takes over the starting job?
I mean, if succeed is like 3 wins or more, maybe.
That's another, how do you define succeed?
I mean, they'll be 0-6 in the AFC East. I don't see winning one game in the AFC East.
Maybe they find a way against the Jets, but yeah, probably.
Maybe like hosting the Jets if Rodgers is banged up, maybe. I think Drake Maye is good. I think the rest of this team is abysmal. They still have Juju Smith. They do, right?
They do.
I think he's actually very good. He could have a good year. Outside of that,
here's what you're working with if you're Drake Maye. You're going to have Ramondre Stevenson.
It's awful.
Ramondre is Ziggy's boy. They have Ramondre. You have Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, and Jalen Polk. That's your receiving lineup.
Where's Juju?
Then you have the backups they have right now: KJ Osborne and Juju Smith. So that
wait, Juju's backup?
According to the
Juju's probably going to be a backup.
What?
Bourne, Demario Douglas, Jalen Polk, KJ Osborne are your top 4. Then you got Juju Smith as the. I mean, Juju hasn't been very good.
I think Juju's amazing.
Well, still, you have those 5 guys and Hunter Henry and an okay offensive line.
Yeah, no,
the guards are more the issue.
This seems worse than the Giants. Like, I don't have much to say on these guys. Do you see them winning more than 5 games?
No, I see them winning about 5 games, and then I think it's similar to what Ziggy said about the Giants, actually, where you hope you survive this season and see Drake Maye make progress whenever he winds up coming in. And then in next offseason, they're going to have a lot of cap space. That's when you start filling in around him. You'll probably have a high draft pick. So it's going to be a year where they're not competing for the playoffs. But, you know, if New England just sees progression from Drake Maye, I think that's successful.
I mean, yeah. See him do some things you want him to say, but you want him to do, but I don't have any expectations.
Let's see if Ziggy brings the hammer down.
No, I mean, I fully agree. The thing to keep in mind, too, is the defense will get worse this year. As much bad stuff as you heard about Belichick and he can't run an offense and all that, maybe that is true. But despite the offense giving the Patriots the worst field position in the entire NFL last year, the defense was 5th in points per drive allowed. They were one of the best defenses in the NFL. But like, that's Bill Belichick at work, right? So the way that I see it, the defense will get worse. The offense, I think Jacoby's probably better than Mac Jones, maybe a little bit. KJ Osborne's maybe better than Devontae Parker. Antonio Gibson's better than Zeke. Like, these are all small improvements. As you say, the goal of the year is just Drake Maye has a good season and then hopefully doesn't Mac Jones his 2nd and 3rd seasons. That's what you're hoping for here.
I think Bill Belichick's a very mid coach. He's a very mid coach.
Yeah, here we go with this. I mean, there's a reason that they use 7 of their 8 picks in the draft on offense. The defense should be okay, assuming Gerard Mayo can coach them up. But the offense is going to struggle throughout the year. If by some means the offense finds some rhythm and Drake Maye gets going, I think New England fans are going to be very, very happy about the next few years because there's really no reason this team should be that much of a threat offensively, unless if Drake Maye comes in as just awesome and lives up to some of the hype that he had. And I actually think that Drake Maye, it was really weird where Drake Maye and Caleb Williams unbelievably hyped up for so long, and then that all like fell off a cliff a little bit right before the draft. I still think there's a lot of reasons to be excited around Drake Maye. Like, he has everything you'd want in a quarterback now.
Sure does.
Just a matter of pulling it all together here. Here we go.
Tall, good arm.
Okay, so the Patriots, there's just not too much to talk about with New England other than you hope they look okay and can restock next offseason. The non-quarterback player to watch in the AFC East. Do either of you guys have your guy?
Oh, it's a shame you said
I
non-quarterback.
got my guy.
I was going to say
Let's
Tua.
hear it, Ziggy.
I was going to say Tua. Go ahead, Ziggy. You go first.
This
It's the same
is
script
a
every
player
time.
that
It's always non-quarterback.
I will say this. You will not hear any other podcast talking at non-quarterback players to watch say this player if they have to pick just one, but he is obviously the player to watch. It's Christian Gonzalez. We saw an incredibly hot start to the season from him last year before that tragic, what was it, a shoulder injury that took him out for the season? Some tragic injury or another. I'm pretty sure it was a shoulder injury, but he was looking so good. He was looking like as a rookie, he might be one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. I know Bill's gone and Bill could coach up cornerbacks, but I expect this to be a career year. I guess any year is a career year. I expect this to be an elite year from Christian Gonzalez, Pro Bowl honors, borderline all-pro, and he's going to establish himself as a true star in the NFL.
Wow. Well, you guys were both high on him last season.
Oh, yeah, I loved I'm a huge fan. I'm going to go with the player I said is the best offensive weapon of all time. You remember who I said?
Dalton Kincaid.
I think he's already better than Gronk. He's the best that I've ever seen, at least in his Utah days. But now, you touched on this before, Paul, like no Stefon Diggs, no Gabe Davis. Dalton Kincaid is probably their one. And I recognize how elite he was back when he was in college, and the world's about to see it this year. Like, you're going to watch what this guy's able to do, and it's going to be special. So I'm looking forward to Dalton Kincaid. Like, he's Josh Allen's guy now. Like,
I think that's a great pick.
Like, he's the man in Buffalo.
I think that's a great pick. You could go really in that Bills. For the Bills, I think you could go with anyone of Kincaid, Coleman, James Cook. I mean, Von Miller too. Like, are you going to get
I'm huge.
Von
I'm a
Miller?
big Coleman fan too.
No.
I think you could. I think there's a lot of guys that you could pay attention to on the Bills. Ziggy, you went with the Patriot. I'll try and go with someone else. I'm going to go. I mean, we just talked about him a lot, but I'm actually going to go with Tyron Smith along the Jets' offensive line there. I do think that if he goes down and you rush in Fashanu, that's one reason I like the Fashanu pick is because you have so many injury-prone offensive linemen on the Jets right now. But if Tyron Smith stays healthy, left tackle will be stabilized. Like he will play well when he's in and be a huge source of protection for Aaron Rodgers. It's kind of, I know it's not a really sexy pick taking an offensive lineman, but I do think that he is a key piece to the Jets having a successful season next year.
Yeah, what you're doing is you're picking Aaron Rodgers, but
I am picking.
You can't pick Aaron Rodgers, so you're picking Tyron Smith.
Yeah, a little bit. Ziggy's seeing through. Also, of course, man, I'm trying to think for the Dolphins if we were to finish out who's the player to watch on Miami, because it's probably you just say Tyreek Hill, but
that's the cop-out answer.
That's the cop-out answer.
If Achane can stay healthy, good night for the NFL.
I forgot Achane was hurt at the end of the.
But like Jalen Ramsey,
he was hurt for like the whole season. Jalen Ramsey is all right, but if Achane on 103 carries averaged 8 yards a carry, basically it was 7.8 plus an incredible receiver. It's unlikely at his size he can play a full season, but if he can, 2,500 or more scrimmage yards is in play.
He was just unbelievable. All the like average per carry stats. It was just ridiculous for Achane. Probably Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. I would go with the two edge rushers.
Big boys up front.
The guys coming back from injury. How do they come back from those devastating season-ending injuries? Because if they're good, yeah, you have Fuller, you have Jalen Ramsey. Now you have the edge rushers. Everything else kind of fills in from there. Okay, the preseason division MVP. I'm gonna play it easy. It's gonna be Josh Allen.
Oh, come on! It's
gonna be Josh Allen.
No,
he does it every year.
We don't lie on this show.
I think it's gonna be Tua.
What about Tyreek?
Hawk Tua.
Oh jeez.
Ziggy, if she don't hawk Tua, you still talk to her?
So, who are you actually going with?
No, I'm actually going with Tua. Yes, I think it's gonna be a big year for him. I think that there's a lot of people out there saying how they don't like him. He can't get it done in big games.
Sucks.
And how he sucks.
Hey, back.
For good reason, right? Like he hasn't won a lot of those big games he needed to win.
I don't think Tua sucks. I think he's really good. He just hasn't won big games. He led the NFL in passing yards.
Oh, I think he comes out as a fantastic year and wins the division. So I'm going to go with Tua.
I like the Tua pick a lot. We were looking at Travis Kelce getting distracted last year. You talked about that a lot. Well, Josh Allen's distracted too by Haley Steinfeld. Meanwhile, Tua got married last year, so he's got all that locked up in his life. But the distraction, while it might play a role, does not make up the gap for the talent between players. It's obviously Josh Allen. I'm sorry.
Are they dating? Josh Allen and Haley Steinfeld?
For a long time.
Yeah, they've been dating for a while.
Oh, I didn't know that. I saw a movie with her recently. The Edge of
Yeah, they dated all last season.
Oh, good for him.
I watched.
But now it's heating up.
I watched the.
What?
What are you talking?
Is it heating up?
What am I talking about? It's heating up. Yeah, Haley Steinfeld. She showed up to the Golden Globes of a ring.
Oh,
it's heating up.
I DM'd Josh Allen's cousin on Instagram, and she responded.
What'd she say? Get away from me.
No. I
delete this number.
I think I said so. I saw her on TikTok. I thought she was very pretty, her name was Taylor Allen, and she was wearing a Josh Allen jersey. I'm like, oh,
you're just DMing people you see on TikTok.
No. So I'm like,
shoot, man.
I found her Instagram. I'm like, hey Taylor, I was just wondering, like, is Josh your cousin? She's like,
you feel comfortable saying this publicly that you're doing this?
She goes, yes. I'm like, oh, like, are you single? She goes, LOL, no, engaged. So
try again.
Oh my god, screw the Bills.
Try again.
Screw the Bills.
Yeah. So we got 2 Josh Allens, 1 Tua, no Rodgers, no Tyreek Hill here. Trying to think, is there anyone else? Yeah, that's about it. The division predictions now for the AFC East. I've thought long and hard about this.
Nice.
I'm going to have the Bills at 1. I'm going to put the Jets at 2, the Dolphins at 3, and the Patriots at 4. I know some people won't like that. I'm rooting for the Dolphins. Went through the schedules. The way I predicted it, I had Buffalo, New York, Miami.
It's funny you said Buffalo, New York. It was funny.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Dolphins. Dolphins, Bills, Jets, Patriots.
I'm going to have a repeat of last year. Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Patriots.
There you go. Ziggy said on the NFC East show, you probably won't see another prediction video where we all agree. And in the first one since, we all disagree on the standings.
That's how it should be.
I mean, we're kind of close. I like having someone pick a different division winner. It's nice having a little bit of pride.
Oh, yeah.
The Bills are not so far ahead of everyone else. Like, this isn't the AFC West. There's a real chance that another team wins.
Oh, yeah. And I don't want to make it sound like I think the Bills are a runaway favorite. I think the Jets and the Dolphins can both win. I think those top 3 can come in basically any order. But who am I putting my stock in? You said it, Ziggy. The best quarterback in the division. That's who I'm rolling.
Can we close the show with Ziggy's Dolphin sound?
Ziggy works on Dolphin sounds, apparently. So
I've not been working on it. I've been snoozing. But
okay.
I think
appreciate the attempt.
I think we've had
a regression.
Sounds. Yeah, that's regression from Ziggy.
I like how you also wiggled the
well,
fin.
Ziggy's more of an
East up.
He's an East Coast Dolphin, and right now he's on the West Coast, so he's just a little out of sorts.
The time adjustment, yeah.
All right, there you go. The AFC East show. We have 6 more division previews to get through, but hopefully you enjoyed the first 2. Remember, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Become a member by going to our channel's homepage and clicking the join button. Leave any comments. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about in the other previews. Throw in some mailbags, and we'll see you next week.